This was my old street. This was Beaufoy Road. People were born here, lived here, got married from here, brought their own families up again here. Nobody was very happy about moving when we knew we had to go. We had no option, no choice. We were just told it was a compulsory purchase order. Obviously, the houses needed to come down or needed to have lots of work done on them rather than sort of pull them down completely and destroy the whole community that we had around us. And this is where I used to live. I lived here for 5 years, which wasn't a long time compared to the other people that lived in the street. But I don't think you'll ever get the feeling of the community feeling that we had here. You'll never get it in flats, I'm sure of this, because they're not real, they're not like houses. This is all sort of artificial now. It's, well, I don't think I'm ever going home anymore. I always think I'm just there temporarily. I don't know why, I always think this. One of the things about living in a house, in a street, you had friends, you had neighbours, you had your next door neighbours, you had your neighbours over the garden wall. You were individuals. You could paint your front door what colour you liked. You could paint your bricks if you wanted to. You could have what coloured curtains you liked. You were an individual. When you live in a flat, you're not. You've got to conform, and really conform, or else you're out. You see, we were all crowded on top of one another here, but we still had room to move and breathe, and you could see you were down to earth. This is what it is, really, isn't it?
This is a council estate in London, between Battersea Park Road and the railway, built by Wandsworth Borough Council. 28 blocks, population over 7,000 people. This is 20th century man. This is his natural habitat. Today, no more people live here than when all this was slums. The new shapes look tidy and well disposed, but it's the people inside them who have to call them a home, who have to find a sense of belonging.
When we first found out we was moving, it was obvious we wouldn't get a house. I mean, it's everyone's dream to get a house, really, but being young and only having a couple of children, that's obvious we wouldn't get one. So we thought it was bound to be either a flat or a maisonette. But I had asked for a maisonette because I've always fancied that. As I said, you know, it's like being in a house once you get inside. It was a bit of a surprise when I first came to view it to find out we was in the big block, which I first thought were flats, and they turned out to be maisonettes. And we are on the 9th floor. I've been living here about 4 months now. Comparing it with where I used to live, it's a palace. It's a right dump. And everything about it here is a lot better. The bathroom for a start, and the sink. We never had a sink at the other place. We had to cook in the toilet, where there was this small bath. And the children have got their own room now, which is very nice for us, as well as them. They can also play quite a lot. There's been a few complaints about noise from other tenants, but I think it's mainly the older ones whose children have grown up, or the few that haven't got any children at all. I can understand, but I don't think everyone will be all friendly and happy and laughing together just because we're all living together, because it's obvious. I mean, I don't really know anyone on the next floor, and I don't, you know, it's just I know someone in the next block, but that's only because she lived near me where I used to live. I think we tend to just stick to our own landings. We haven't got around to having, you know, like social evenings or anything like that. Whether anyone has started up, I don't know.
Oh, I better be going, otherwise I'm going to be late.
Yeah, you better.
All right.
What time will you be home?
About 6. See you
All
tonight.
right. Bye. Been living in J Court now for 3 years. I don't like it. It's very secluded. You know, once you're in, you're in. The kids are not happy. I'm not happy. But we had to come here. We didn't have no alternative. The house we were living in was actually falling down, and the council man came round, and I did ask for a house, but he said I didn't qualify, being I have only 2 children. So this was it. I had to take this flat. I didn't have a choice. These flats, well, there's nothing here. In the new flats, they've got playrooms for the children. Well, in these flats, there's nothing at all for the children to play. They've either got to stay in and get complaints from neighbours, and myself always having goes at them about making a noise, or they can go downstairs and then I'm a bag of nerves because they're downstairs playing. The main thing that does worry me about flats is the fact you can't have animals, and my children have been brought up with animals. We had a poodle, we've had rabbits, and we've had cats. Now all they've got now is a bird and a fish. Well, they'd love a dog, but they just can't have one in flats. But it's very secluded, this place. As I say, you can't meet anybody. You can't go out on the doorstep and have a chat because there's just no one to chat to. I've been a bag of nerves since we've lived here, you know. I've completely changed. I used to be a happy-go-lucky person. Well, now I'm not. I'm quite miserable, you know, and it has changed me and the children an awful lot.
We've been living in this flat for 14 years, you know, just over 14 years. Because, you know, obviously the area around has changed quite a lot. And I've changed quite a bit inside the flat. There are some things in the flat that I can't change, but I'd like to change. But the council won't allow us to do this.
Every flat they built is the same. And I don't like sameness. I don't like to be exactly the same as my neighbour. So I think to have a home that's different, to fetch your children up in, you've got to make changes.
I like to be a little bit different from the chap next door, you know. You can't alter the place structurally, but at least you can alter some of the things inside. And that is why, you know, I made the fireplace there, the wooden fireplace, to replace the original one. Which, if you saw the old fireplace behind it, it's rather the same in every flat, and it's rather like a gents' toilet. And I didn't like this a bit, you know, but I made this myself as an alteration. But it isn't fixed. It is only a temporary, you know, standing there, and it's stands up on its own steam. I couldn't fix it because if I did fix it, the council would be after my blood. You know, you're not allowed to make any alterations, even if they were improvements, according to the council. And the other thing was the ceiling, of course. On the ceiling, the original ceiling, there was a plaster up there which rejected everything that you put onto it, doesn't matter what it was. So eventually, what I had to do, I had to stick the plastic type tiles, you know, that you see on the ceiling now. I stick those up there to completely cover it up, you know, because nothing will take on the ceiling itself.
Plus the fact it's a bit more decorative, isn't it?
It's a bit of a battle, this. We've tried to change the flat, but the flat's changed us a bit as well, I believe. You know, I think this is, you know, you can't avoid this. I say, if you don't become a flat dweller living in the flats, I think you finish up at a mental institution very quickly.
We adapt ourselves to a way of living in flats after being here 14 years. You have to live as a flat person. Either if you live in a street, you're just, you know, you've got neighbours, you can go and knock on doors, but in flats you're just so lonely that you just get used to it in the end. You just can't take people from a house and put them in a flat and say, get on with it. You just can't do it, it's not done. You've got to have some sort of freedom. If these people have had freedom and they're closed into a flat, they're going to be a bundle of nerves like I am.
I should imagine, judging by myself, once your husband goes to work, all you've really got left to do is the housework. I think the husbands, as well as having their jobs to go to each day, they usually got quite a lot of friends. They always got someone to talk to and chat to. 9 times out of 10 they come home, have their dinner and fall asleep. It's because they've had plenty to talk about all day and they're tired. I never feel really lonely because, as I say, there's always someone walking along or pops their head round, come in, have a chat and that. But I think it would be a hell of a lot harder if you wanted to spend a day on your own. So I'd always thought of flats as being lonely type places, you know. You'd heard of people going in and closing the door and that's all they'd see until their husband come home at night. On the actual day of moving in, everyone seemed to be unloading and packing up together, you know, and we all got chatting and, you know, do you want a cup of tea and all this, but lucky enough we all stayed friends after, and so it didn't turn out to be as lonely as I thought.
I mean, you move out of these flats to get into these flats, so you'll be settled and you won't have a nervous breakdown, you know.
Yeah.
But when you come into this, it's just as bad because you can't let the kids play, can you?
Look what the caretaker said when he came up about the children playing on the ground, on the landing. No children on the landing, either in the playroom or in the houses.
Yeah, that's what you said.
So what have you got to do?
Yeah.
You go to the playroom, they're locked in, or there's somebody down there saying, children from the ninth floor, you're not allowed to use it.
Personally, I feel safer here than I've ever done before, and if ever you're not feeling very well or something, you know that you've only got to just give a little bit of a shout out. Someone would always come and help you. You're never alone. As soon as you walk out in the morning, there's always someone there. They say hello. I don't know many people on the other floors, but I couldn't really say whether they're as friendly or not. Must admit, you don't see them standing around talking as much as us. And maybe this is why we've had a few complaints about it being noisy up here. But I'd rather have it than being completely on my own all day.
I feel very shut in this flat. I feel like a prisoner, you know, at times. I sit and cry sometimes, where I get so fed up with myself. There's nothing to do once you're in there, and you've got no one to speak to, no one comes and visits you, because we're up 11th floor, you know, and a lot of people don't like the lifts, so I don't see anybody. There's only 4 people living on the landing, and they all go to work. So once I'm in there, you know, that's it. It's quite impossible here, really, because opposite we've got an old lady living there, you know, and I'm young and she's old. We've just got nothing in common, you see. But I have one friend opposite the other side, but she goes out to work all day, so I don't really get much chance to talk to her.
People that suffer the most for the lack of facilities on the estate are obviously the children and the old people. I mean, there's a world of difference now. I mean, when I was a kid, I was what was known as a street raker at the time. I was out in the streets playing all the time. And you could play out in the streets in those days because there wasn't the traffic there is now, for a start. But you felt free. Nobody was there chasing you. You know, you might get chased if you broke a window now and again with your ball, but nobody chased you because you were making a noise, specifically. And nowadays, kids mustn't go outside and mustn't stomp their feet more than twice before somebody's after them and want to know what's this going all about.
We haven't got this problem now, our daughter's grown up, but we still feel for the parents and the children that, you know, there's just nothing for them to do anymore. My daughter, she just didn't like the flats because there was no freedom at all, and as she got older, she resented, you know, that there's no noise. You mustn't have no noise in the flats. And she, like every teenager, they ought to have their records playing, which she did have, but very softly. And she always said when she got married, she didn't want to live in a flat, and away she went, and down to Windsor she's living now. But I don't think she'll ever come back to London again, because she doesn't want to fetch her children up in the same way she was brought up.
We seem to prefer to build garages rather than playing space for children. There's in between each of the large blocks down there's a garage place on the basement, with a load of garages on, and there's above that on the ground floor level there's another line of garages, all built underground, you know, undercover. One of those spaces, or even half of that space, would have made a marvellous clubroom there, been all built in ready, you know. It's part while they were building the estate, they were building it. This would have been the ideal way of doing it, but apparently material things are worth more than children today to these people in authority.
We can blow your thing up with this, look, because it can turn around and it can go.
Since we've moved in the flats, I've noticed a great change in the children. They seem to have got a lot quieter, you know. Where we used to live in the, well, we had our old house, you know, with a yard, where the children was out there all day playing. But now I can't even get them to go out there, you know. I think they're a bit frightened to go down in the lifts, or when they are downstairs playing, which we've got a small play park, well, the wall's so low that if they get up, you know, they can fall over. And my boys are very interested in football, but they're not allowed to play football, you know, in the play park. So what they do, they go through a hole in the fence because the door's always locked, and one keeps an eye out for the caretaker. You're always worried what they will get up to. You know, they can be led astray very easily, little children. If they're told to do something, they just go and do it. I am worried about that, but I'm worried about everything where flats are concerned. Everything, the fact you cannot get down to them if anything does happen to them. And if someone did get hold of them, the time you've got down there, the damage is done.
They do have to get out and play, or else they'd be shut indoors all the time. It's obvious they haven't got a garden here, but they do cater for them with the playrooms. There's not one to every floor, but you can share it through the fire escape, which is quite good if they can get down to them. They keep locking the doors now and again. But they're not allowed to take balls down because of the window and that, and they think that'd be a bit too much.
Well, when they're playing indoors in the flat, they have to play quiet games because, well, you get complaints all the time. They've got to play either soldiers or cars. They're not allowed to jump. Staying in the flat, there's just nothing for him to do, really. He has a new carpentry set, and he's never even played with it yet. Because the day he did play with it, we had the council come down and complain about the noise. But if they go over the park where they just run wild, they love it. They can have their bikes. They also can play football, but they cannot go unless I take them. And that's only when they're on school holidays. I do manage to take them every day because I leave me work and I take them for the whole day. And they go mad. They don't want to come home, and I'm there till 7 o'clock at night sometime, from 9:30 in the morning. Well, they just run wild. They can play with their bikes, they can go in the water, they can do anything they like without anybody saying, you mustn't go there, you mustn't do this, and you mustn't do that. They're free, and they feel free, and they really do enjoy themselves. Look at him, he's a pretty colour, isn't he? Look. Look at his red nose. Look. See, look, this one here, look.
I don't think children should play in corridors. They should have somewhere to play. But, I mean, here they haven't got anywhere to play at all. They shouldn't play in the corridor because it's tormenting. I mean, when you've been at work all day and you come home, you don't want kids outside the door screaming and shouting and playing football outside the door, and you're forever laughing going out and say, why don't you go up the other end of the corridor? Why don't you go out and play outside your own door? Which I don't think it's right. They shouldn't play out in the corridor.
No more homes down on the ground where the kids can run around. There were people you could greet as they walked along your street. Concrete towers fill the sky and the children grow so shy. How can they communicate? They ain't got no garden gate. Have pity on the children who live up in the air. Have pity on the children way up there. What do they care? Have pity on the children who live up in the air. Have pity on the children way up there. What do they care?
As soon as I get up, I usually put the kettle on for a cup of tea as first, and then I dodge round and do my little bit of work. And then about 10 o'clock, I go for a little walk all round, do a bit of shopping, which takes me about an hour and a half. And then I come back again, have a bit of lunch, and then do little odds and ends. And then by that time, the television starts. I start watching television about 4:30 until about 12 o'clock. And then I go to bed. That's all my entertainment, really. That's the only thing I've got. Of course, I only see my family, my daughter, once in about 6 weeks because she lives so far away. And of course, I have the wireless as well. But I prefer television. Doesn't seem so lonely. You feel somehow you've got somebody in the room.
Any minute now, a tall, dark man will call on this house. He will help the people who live here to keep healthy, fit and strong.
They're building flats where the houses used to be, where we once sleeping, now we are eating.
never been lonely. I've always been a happy woman. Made me life. If I've had no grub to eat, I've gone without. But I've always had the door open to me. It was a very, very hard living. But we got through. We got through all right. And things now is clover to us. Now we're old, us old people, it's clover to us. It's like living in clover now. So sometimes the old people grumble now about how they're living, but they shouldn't do, because they're well off. The old people are well off today to what them days was. Them days, you was poked into a workhouse in them days. Ah, Battersea, Victoria Dwellings wasn't all honey. Don't you worry. Oh, this is Buckingham Palace to it. We never had a bath down there. You could never bath there. You used to have to bath one leg 1 week in the pail. The next week, the other leg in the pail. Our toilets was in the middle of the road. And you all had to line up. And the first one got there was lucky. If not, he had to come back or her and block their copybook anywhere in the buildings. But this here, lovely bath every day. Here, you don't know where you are. That's why I'm getting such a good complexion since I've been here. Bath every day. I don't expect the old Queen's so well off as what we are here with the nice flats. I don't expect she is. I expect she's got her quarters up there. Oh, yes. I'm contented. I'm never lonely. And you know, I get into trouble because I tell all the old people. I've said, they say to me, ain't you lonely? No, I said, pack that up. Lonely? I'm not lonely. It's just what you make it. You've got to make your own company, I said, and you've got to speak and not let your brain go to sleep and dance and get ready for the next world. Go up there when he's ready for you. He'll have you. Don't worry. I said, you're all gone to sleep since you've left Victoria Dwellings. And so they have. All the people that come out of Victoria Dwellings seem to have turned dopey. And they're all men too. Their old men won't speak to one another. If you look at them and speak to them, they go like this, like the horses go. Look, like the old horses used to go. Look out their blinkers to see if you're looking at them. When I had the accident, I hurt my hip. I broke this hip, and this arm I ain't got properly right. I came home from hospital. I walked straight in on my 2 sticks. I sit down. The wonders hole in the place. I sit down. I look round. There wasn't a neighbour come and knocked at the door and said, could I make you a cup of tea or give you a cup of tea? At Christmas Day, I was 89. Nobody, not even my people, never come and knocked at the door and said, here's a quarter of tea for you. Quarter of tea. So I dragged along in here for 13 weeks, like I am today. I'll show you how I had to get up and how I had to do for myself. Get out of bed, slip off, slip off, slip off, off, off. All round the room, all out the passage, all round. Pull myself up with the chairs. Pull myself up, round, as far as I could get round. Here, round, round. Round. After going all round the room and all round the passage and all. Pull myself up sometimes with the chairs would come on top of me at least, send me backwards. But I managed.
I don't think a community can prosper in these tall blocks of flats because they don't cater for it. It breeds anti-socialism because I like to keep myself to myself at the best of times. I mean, when I was living in a house, everybody you go by, you know them, so you said hello to them. But being now that I don't know them, I tend to get into the lift and I stand there and I don't say nothing. Press the button, get out and come in and close the door, and I don't see anybody else. All I see is my own family. I see people in the lift. They might live in the flats, I don't know. I don't talk to them because I don't know who they are. I've not seen them before. I might see one here and there and I sort of say hello. You get to know the people after a while. I've been here nearly 3 years now. And I mean, I'm on nodding acquaintance with about 4 people, I think. The people across the balcony, obviously, because they live here, but I don't know anybody's name. I know nobody upstairs. I know nobody downstairs. So I would say that flats don't breed communities. They breed individuals, and people are gradually becoming like little cells, and that is the trouble with things today. Living in flats does shape your life, or living anywhere does shape your life and your character in years to come. So that is one of the reasons I want to get into the country, because I want my children to grow up in a nice, happy atmosphere and a friendly community. Now, I've had it many a time. We've gone out to the mother-in-laws, stayed down here, we've gone out to the woods or just out a little bit further where there's farms, and we've been playing by the water, and up comes a person, I mean, and they say to you, good morning, how do you feel, and all that. So, I mean, you get the community there, whereas in London or in these flats, if you go down and you take your children anywhere, somebody comes up, you can't do that, you're not allowed to go there, get off the grass, what are you doing on the grass, you're not allowed to do anything like that. It's all rules and regulations. It does breed people to get more, well, violent as it is today, because, I mean, the new estate opened over there, and there's nothing for them to do here, people, or not so much people as children. And when I say children, I mean boys and girls up to the age of 15, 16. They've got nothing, or they've got nothing at all over that age, but they went over them flats over there, and I was looking out and I could hear it smashing, and I thought it was milk bottles. And when I went down there, I went round, they'd smashed the complete lot of windows right the way along the new flats before they opened, and I think they'd done about £700 or £800 worth of damage.
I don't think I'd give it these places 20 or 30 years before they become slums. I think I'd give it 2 or 3 years, the way they're going at the moment. For example, the sheds being broken into. I mean, the kids all come along here, as we've been told that all the windows been smashed. About 300 windows been smashed. The sheds have all been broken into. But then again, I think it's for the teenagers, really. I mean, they all walk around here at night time in gangs. They get up to mischief, and it's only natural. They just haven't got anything to do. So they make themselves something to do by breaking into sheds, breaking windows.
I did use the drying rooms until mine was broken into. I haven't any idea who did break into the drying rooms, but it seems to be the same lot that get broken into every time. We've all got a rough idea that it's, you know, the young boys that want somewhere to go of an evening, and they pick the drying rooms.
Well, the only place we can go is the Educational Youth Centre for organised sports.
Well, I think the club's pretty good, you know. I mean, it's a good place to come to. You've got fencing, football, judo, boxing, but there could be another one for simple reasons. It's all right to say that you want to do these things, but if somebody doesn't want to do nothing, I mean, you can't come over here and do nothing at all. You've got to do something. You can't just sit about in this club, you know, otherwise you get out. A lot of kids don't want to come over here. I mean, if you're going to get out, you might as well not come in the first place. We want a club where you can go to and you can just kind of suit yourself what you do.
Teenagers being shut up for so long in the flats, they come out, there's nothing for them to do, no activities, so they start off, they smash milk bottles, and it leads from milk bottles, they smash windows, they do it to people's property, and then in the end they start smashing up people.
Yeah, I've been beaten up a couple of times. I mean, it's not unusual, is it? I was it. You put it that way, and I went down on the floor. Well, they started kicking me, so I got up and run. Lucky enough, I got away, you know, but they didn't come after me. I just done it for the fun.
People write that teenagers are violent, all of them are, because they like to blame people.
I don't know why people write that, because it's not true. Well, some of it is, but most of it ain't.
Well, I wouldn't think that sort of thing happens in Battersea. Well, not where I live. I've seen it happen, like in the park and down Clapham Junction.
It happens. It's happened to me, but I've never done it to anyone else. I wouldn't do it to anyone else. I'd rather be in the position as Tony than I would chasing him.
Well, I was playing the part where I was getting beaten up, and I didn't like that much. And I would rather play the part of being chased, of chasing than being chased.
I think it was wrong of you to film this sort of fight because it gives people the wrong impression entirely.
Yeah, but if they know this fight was fake,
yeah,
well, they don't, do they?
Well, they do now.
Don't get the wrong impression.
I mean, you can show someone something and then tell them it was all put up, but they still remember what happened.
Yeah,
I don't care how much you tell them that it was a fake. They're still going to have that impression in their mind somewhere that someone was getting hurt. You.
The Tennis Association, you know, is very important. The role of it is to give the people on the estate something to do and some interest that can keep them, band them together. In fact, you know, the old saying, divided we fall, united we stand, is very, very true.
Good morning, my dear. I'm from the Tennis Association. We're holding a meeting Wednesday evening in the basement of J Court. Can we count upon you to come along and support us?
Wednesday evening?
Wednesday evening, 7:30.
Oh.
That's in the basement of J Court.
Well, the Tennis Association has really got two importances. No, the first importance is liaison with the council so that you can talk with the council. And secondly, for the social side of the estate, which is a very important thing as regards the people, because it gives the people an interest outside of their own particular flat and gives them an interest that keeps them sane, if you like. You know? Nobody feels that they own anything on any estate. You know, they think that the council owns it. Well, I know and you know that the council don't own anything. They don't own a brick. The property belongs to the people.
We've got a meeting on Wednesday evening, very important meeting on the estate. Can I count upon you to come along with us?
I can't walk.
Well, we'll get you round there, my darling. We'll get you round there if you'll come.
Yeah,
Hey, there's the notice, look for the meeting, if you'll come along with us.
I can't, I'm sorry. No, I can't.
You can't make it?
No.
But you'll see all your neighbours and make sure that they all come, will you?
I don't know any
We'll have a word with your people, have a word with your friends.
The Tennis Association, they are there with the people and they're talking to the people that live on the estate. They know the problems of the people that live on the estate. The ideal situation, I believe, would be for the council to allow the Tennis Association to run the day-to-day things on the estate with the council backing. An estate is like a little village. And no village functions without its village hall, and we haven't got a village hall to function from.
Can we count upon you to come along to the meeting in the basement of J Court?
Wednesday?
Wednesday evening at 7:30.
Yeah, okay.
Right. Now, first of all, I'd like to thank you all for coming along here tonight. I know you must all be feeling cold, and you'll probably feel colder by the time we're finished. But unfortunately, Wandsworth Borough Council can't afford to build a club room, or they're too bloody mean to. I'm not sure which it is. This meeting has been called tonight to discuss the problems that affect us all on this estate. Not just on the old estate, but on the new estate that is being built and being filled up at the moment. We all have our problems. I know about them. I'm sure you know about them. And tonight is your chance to speak about them. And for goodness sake, speak up. Don't be afraid. Speak out nice and loud, and let's hear your problems. Hi, that lady here, yes. There's you, dear.
Mrs. Markham, number 3 France is just away. People say it's the kids that break everything. It's the kids that make a mess. But I tell you, it's not. When I first moved here, every day for 3 weeks I cleaned out the chutes, I cleaned out everything. Not 5 minutes later, some dirty person will come along and drop pill, everything. Dirty STs, everything you can think of on the floor. It's not the kids, it's some of the peoples. They come from slums and they're going to make this a slum. Not at all.
Hold the place.
Mrs. Dane, Dresden House. This is about the lifts and also about the children. 2 days ago, my young daughter was trapped in the thing. I went down and told the caretaker today, and he told me that my children shouldn't use the lift. I live on the 9th floor. What should I do? Make them walk up at least half a dozen times a day?
We've got a young lad here who wants to say something. So please give him the best of attention.
Is it possible for us to have a football pitch?
Very good question.
This is one.
This, in case you didn't all hear that, the young lad said, is it possible for us to have a football pitch? Right. I think so. There is quite a large grass expanse there, and I've noticed they're planting trees at odd angles all over the place to stop the kids from playing football. I know the gentleman over here is going to say no, but I say the children are the future. I don't think anybody should have the right to tell children that they mustn't play.
Let's have a experiential control first. It starts indoors, the control of these. Look at them all out here this time of night. They should be home and in bed, doing their own work.
Gentleman over here.
Mr. Chairman, may I just reply to the gentleman over here? Surely our duty is to cater for these hooligans. We're not going to do it by ostracising them, by forcing them onto the streets with nowhere to go. The only way we're going to cater for this type of young person is by showing that we care. Their problems are our problems. We're not going to do it by putting them in a separate class. The only way to do it is somewhere to meet, somewhere for us to meet, to discuss with them their problems.
It's not the kids that's been doing this damage on this new estate. It's in the main neglect of the workmen at the beginning. On top of that, how this new estate has been planned is damn ridiculous. There's more garages than what there is of flats. Why not build a club room in the garage where the garages are now then?
I'm sure some of you would like to help. After the meeting is finished, stay behind. Let's have your names and addresses. We'll give you something to do. We can help. Very noisy. Kept us all warm anyway. Damn cold, wasn't it? I like a noisy meeting myself.
outside of the whole estate at the present moment looks new, but I think that in 2, 3, 4 years, I'm afraid it's going to look exactly like our street looked from the outside. It's gradually, even now, changing from when we first came in here. I was listening to Woman's Hour. I'd only been here about a month, and I wasn't really listening to Woman's Hour, but I suddenly heard this. I think it was Barbara Cartland. I think it was her. I wasn't really interested till I heard what she said. She started talking about the £6.5 million project in the Battersea Park Road, and she said to me, it screams out of slums. Oh, I was really indignant. I'd just moved in here. I don't know now. I think maybe she was right, you know. There's a lot to be said for giving people a decent place to live in. I don't know who designs them. I don't know who they design them for, or if they think that we feel or think any differently than they do. There must be reasons why these architects build these flats in this design and in this hard, barrack-looking way, because I'm sure they couldn't possibly like the structure and the outlook of them themselves. I don't think there was an awful lot of thought put into it. If they would have only consulted ordinary people who have to live in these places, what we would like, it's not a lot we would like, but we do like the same things as they enjoy. They like the outside of their places to look nice, and so do we. We don't differ in any way to them. Surely that in time somebody will learn to come and ask the ordinary people what they'd like and how they would like them.